What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but there's a pretty important football game coming up, and I'm just going to give you everything that I am betting for this Super Bowl. This is every bet that I have locked in for the Super Bowl. It's 6 official bets, and then it's some like kind of novelty props that I like as well. The novelty stuff I normally don't actually bet myself. I get that it's fun, but I have enough on actual player props that I'm betting that I don't want to have more on the novelty stuff. But and I did just want to give you guys some of the novelty stuff that I like. But if you've watched the videos on my YouTube channel so far, some of these picks are going to be a repeat of what I have. But I basically just wanted to have one video out there with everything that I'm betting. So if you haven't watched a video, if you're new to my channel or you missed the past couple of videos, this is everything that I'm betting for the Super Bowl. It's 6 official bets. It's 3 non-touchdown player props. And then it's 3 touchdown player props. So it's like actually only 4.5 or so units risked total. It's 1 unit each on the player props, and then I kind of divvied up the unit size on the anytime touchdowns. But yeah, that's all I got. So it's been a pretty good NFL season, up over 30 units on the year. I appreciate everybody who's rocked with me so far on this NFL season. And let's start talking bangers. We don't need to dilly-dally anymore. What I have up on the screen here is Outlier, pretty helpful tool for betting across all sports. If you want to sign up for Outlier, I put a link to them in the description of the video. So, first bet that we are locking in. And honestly, one of the rare plays that I actually got positive CLV on. If I'm being honest with you guys, for those of you that haven't bet anything yet, you can actually get better prices than what I got. But one of them that's not the case is this Dallas Goedert. I took him 50 plus receiving yards. You can still get it at 50 plus. As you can see, it's minus 110 odds at FanDuel, and it's pretty juiced everywhere else. I mean, you see that it's minus 125 at BetMGM, minus 135 at DraftKings, and minus 135 at Caesars. Most books have this number above 50.5. We see like 51.5, 52.5 of what Dallas Goedert's priced at. So the 50 number is good. Couple things here with Dallas Goedert. Now, it's been a weird year. You look at his 2024 season. He's gone over in 6 of 13 games, which isn't amazing. He got hurt, 2 separate injuries that have kept him out for an extended period of time. Missed about a month right here, and then missed about a month right here. Since he's come back from his second injury, he's been really, really good. Now, this game right here was week 18. They had him play like the first half just to kind of get him in back in game speed and stuff like that. Played really well. These last 3 are the most important things I want to highlight because these are the 3 playoff games. You look at his last 3 games. Playoff game number 1. Now, he did go under 47. He didn't quite hit 50, but 47 receiving yards in that game. You look at his targets, 6 targets, caught 4 of them. 6 targets actually in 3 of his last 4 games. And then the second playoff game against the Rams, really good game, 56 receiving yards. He had 1 play get called back as well. It would have been like a 15, 20-yard gain or something like that. Obviously, penalties happen. It was an illegal man downfield. But the important thing was it was a tight end screen to Dallas Goedert. So it was a play that won't show up on the stat sheet that was specifically designed for Dallas Goedert, and then he was awesome against the Commanders. 85 receiving yards against the Commanders. Incredibly utilized in this Eagles offense. I mean, when the Eagles offense is at its best, they're having efficient plays to Dallas Goedert. Now, he's not someone that's generally going to blow up. Like 85 is a lot for him. I think it's the second most he had in a game. Yeah, 85. This 170 was a complete outlier because A.J. Brown missed this game, and Devontae Smith got hurt in this game as well. But he gets consistent targets, consistent work. It's a really important part of the offense. And the Chiefs defense, this is where the Eagles are going to be able to have success. It's throwing the ball to Dallas Goedert. As you can see, the Chiefs have allowed the most receiving yards in the entire NFL, specifically to tight ends, And this is important because there was a stretch in the middle of the year, towards the end of the year, where the Chiefs started giving up not quite as much work to the tight end and more work to the wide receivers. But that was when they were dealing with injuries to their secondary, mostly Jalen Watson, I believe is the guy's name. The cornerback for the Chiefs, he missed basically the entire second half of the season. He's now back. So the Chiefs defense is playing how they want to play. And how they want to play is they're cool giving up receiving work to the tight end position. From their perspective, they don't give up a lot in the running game, although they've been beat recently in the running game. And they don't give up much to the wide receiver. And that's kind of how they design it. They're aggressive with their blitz packages, which a lot of times leads to work to the tight end position. So I like Dallas Goedert to have a big game in this one. I mean, 50 yards isn't incredible or anything like that. But that is our first play. I also have Dallas Goedert on the touchdown. So I put a half unit, 0.5 units on him to record a touchdown. Again, it's been a down year for him, only scored 3 times this year. One of them was in their playoff game. He had an awesome awesome touchdown against the Packers where he broke a tackle, like he broke like 3 tackles from the same guy, was able to score. And, I think it's going to be a big game for Dallas Goedert. And I really, really liked the price at plus 350 for him to score. Now, the Eagles, when Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts combined for 6 touchdowns, there's not always a lot of touchdowns to go around for everybody else. A.J. Brown is a good bet to score a touchdown, but I really like the value on Dallas Goedert. His red zone targets are not going to wow anybody, but the red zone target share for the Eagles in general is pretty low. Now, in the playoffs, only won 1 red zone target. They actually didn't have really any. They didn't have a single passing play in the red zone against the Rams, and only 2 against the Packers. And then in this game against the Giants was week 18. We can kind of take that out. But every other game, he's getting a couple red zone targets. 33%. He got both the red zone targets against the Ravens, 2 of 5 against the Rams. He is generally pretty targeted in the red zone. And again, I think he's got a good matchup. I love the price on him to score at plus 350. So I took 50 plus yards and I put a half unit on him at plus 350 to record a touchdown as well. Again, half unit on that. My next player prop, and this is where we start getting into the bad CLV, is Travis Kelce. I took him 70 plus receiving yards. Now, I got a bad price, so keep that in mind. I got 70 plus receiving yards. I got it at plus 115. You can now get plus 148, and I honestly think that's way too high on Travis Kelce and his receiving yards prop. We all know how good Travis Kelce has been in the playoffs in his career. He's been awesome. Had a down week last week, very bad week, only 19 receiving yards. Had an awesome week the week before, 117 receiving yards against the Texans. Now, the Eagles' defense is very good. You see receiving yards per game. Number 2, tight end. Actually, number 1. They've allowed the fewest receiving yards to tight ends. But recently, these are only giving you regular season stats. Recently, in the playoffs, the tight end position has been pretty active against the Eagles. Now, I'm just going to go back into their 3 playoff games in the game log. Zach Ertz against the Eagles, 11 receptions for 104 yards. And the way that the Commanders were using Zach Ertz is a way that the Chiefs can have success with Travis Kelce. It was a lot of short stuff, 5 to 10 yards past the line of scrimmage. It's nothing deep and it's nothing crazy. It's just like, it's 3rd and 5, go to Zach Ertz for a 6-yard gain. It's, 2nd and 9, go to Zach Ertz for a 10-yard gain. They tried to cover him with the Eagles safety, Reed Blankenship. That didn't have a lot of success. He beat their Eagles linebacker, Zach Bond, on a key 3rd down at the beginning of the game. And a lot of the ways that Zach Ertz won against the Eagles, Travis Kelce can also do. Now, the difference is that Travis Kelce is the number 1 receiving option for the Chiefs, whereas Zach Ertz is not. So maybe the Eagles have different coverage for Travis Kelce than what they had for Zach Ertz, because obviously it's a different situation. But also the thing with Travis Kelce is that it doesn't always matter what the defensive coverage is, because he can get open and run a play that isn't even the call to play. He'll run something different based on what the defense is doing. Pat Mahomes knows he's doing that. But Ertz had a big game the week before. Tyler Higbee had a big game against them, 7 receptions for 54 yards. Now, and a touchdown. Now, he's not a 7-reception, 54-yard guy, right? Like, you look at his season, he only played 4 games this year. His last 3 were actually pretty decent, but that's the most that he had all year. He went over in all 3 of these categories, over his receptions, over his yards, and he scored a touchdown. The week before, not great from a yards perspective. This was the Packers game, but 5 receptions for Tucker Kraft. So the tight end was pretty active in that game as well. So I think Travis Kelce is going to have a good game in this one. I think that the way that they use Travis Kelce is the way that the Eagles play defense. They'll kind of keep everything in front of them and give up the short pass. And the Chiefs are fine to play that way. Receptions could also be a look for Travis Kelce as well. Over 6.5 is plus 140. That's not a terrible price on him and his receptions prop. At this point in time, I think either one could go 70 plus or 6.5 receptions. If he hits one, he's incredibly likely to hit the other. So receptions, yards, both good for Kelce. And then the last non-touchdown player prop that I had was, and this is another one that we admittedly did not get a good price, was Saquon Barkley, and I took him 125 rushing yards. So I took him 125 plus. I got it at plus 125. You can now get it at plus 140. So another situation where I didn't get the best price. I know that Saquon missed it last week against the Commanders. He barely played in the 4th quarter. Will Shipley had a 60-yard run. That would have been Saquon if that game was remotely close. Same thing against the Packers. He didn't hit it against the Packers, but he slid at like the 40-yard line when he could have easily run for a touchdown because the game was over. Against the Rams, 200 yards. The last game he played, 167 yards. The game before that, 150 yards. It's just impossible to contain Saquon Barkley. And the Chiefs' run defense has been pretty leaky recently. I mean, James Cook, especially in the second half of that game against the Bills, James Cook got going against the Chiefs. The week before that, Joe Mixon got going against the Chiefs. And I get that, like everybody says, we'll just, pack the box. Don't let Saquon Barkley beat you. The problem when you pack the box is you get a situation like what happened against the Rams, both times against the Rams. They did pack the box to try and stop Saquon Barkley. And yeah, you give Saquon Barkley 10 rushes. 8 of those 10, he's probably going for 4 yards or fewer. 2 of those rushes, he breaks for 20 yards and 60 yards. And then that stuff the box type of defense doesn't necessarily work. So it's not as easy as just saying stuff the box, don't let Saquon Barkley beat you. Because the logic being, if you stuff the box, you have more guys run the line of scrimmage. If Saquon Barkley is able to get past the guys that you have stuffing the box, well, there's nobody stopping him from breaking a long touchdown, which we've seen him do a zillion times this year. So if the Chiefs decide to stuff the box, I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a lot of success against that. If the Chiefs decide to play kind of a little bit like two safeties back, not quite stuffing the line of scrimmage, well, guess what? Saquon Barkley is going to get 25 carries. He's going to rush for probably 6 yards a carry. So I think there's just a lot of ways Saquon Barkley gets 125 rushing yards. One of the ways he doesn't is if the Chiefs just get out to a big lead early. They score on their first 2 possessions. The Eagles don't. They're down 14-0 early, and the Eagles stop running the ball. It's just hard to envision a scenario where that actually happens. The Eagles' defense has been so good. Their offense has been so good. And a slow start, I mean, you could say the opposite. What if the Eagles get out to an early lead? Then what happens? Then you're running Saquon the whole game. So Saquon Barkley, 125-plus rushing yards, I think is really, really good. I also like his longest rush as well. The books, if I can find that, longest rush, they don't really change the price for his longest rush. They leave it at 23.5 for his longest rush. And again, his longest run was only 17 yards against the Packers. He would have had a 60-yard touchdown if he didn't slide. But the other games, 60 yards, 78, 68, 72, 25. So he barely hit that one, but still went over. 72, 39, 55, 59, 65, 34. I mean, it's just insane the type of runs that Saquon Barkley is able to break off. And in the playoffs, it's been even better. It's 2 of 3, really, which should be 3 of 3. So I didn't actually bet this one. This is just a lean that I'm giving out, but I do think his longest rush is a good play. And then the last 2 bets that I have are both in the anytime touchdown department. So the next one is Kareem Hunt. Now I put a 3/4 of a unit on Kareem Hunt to score a touchdown. It's plus 150 odds at FanDuel. I got it at plus 140. So this is another situation where you're getting a better price than what I got. And again, I put 3/4 of a unit on this. Now, he scored in 4 straight games, so it's not like this is catching anybody by surprise. But the important part about him doing this in 4 straight games, Isaiah Pacheco has been back for all of these games. Pacheco came back earlier in December, just hasn't quite gotten healthy. Even the 2 weeks off between the end of the regular season and their first playoff game, the goal line work, the very, very plus red zone work, that went to Kareem Hunt. He's getting carries inside the 2-yard line. That's how he has scored in 4 straight games. You look at the red zone rush attempt. He had red zone rush attempts. I'm looking at it based on the team. 3 of 8 against the Bills. Now he only had 1 of 5 against the Texans, but this was inside the 1-yard line. It's incredibly high value red zone rush attempts. If they're between the 19 and the 10, that in the red zone between the 20 and 10, maybe they'll go to Isaiah Pacheco. But when they get inside the 5-yard line, inside the 2-yard line, inside the 1-yard line, they go to Kareem Hunt. And he's been really good in these short yardage scenarios, obviously scoring in 4 straight. And really, I don't have a ton of analysis other than when the Chiefs get to the 1-yard line, they're going to run Kareem Hunt. That's what they've been doing. And he's plus 150 to score. So this is my second anytime touchdown prediction. Again, 3/4 of a unit on this bad boy. And I'll have a screenshot of all my bets at the end of the video. So if you miss anything, you could just fast forward to that. But please watch the whole thing. And then the last bet that I took was Jalen Hurts, but I took him 2+ touchdowns. The minus 115 for 1, I don't quite love. I went with 2. I got it at plus 600. You can still get it at plus 550. I would still put a 1/4 unit on that bad boy. He scored 3 touchdowns last week against the Commanders. He scored 2 touchdowns last year against the Chiefs. And this doesn't go back to the previous Super Bowl. He had 3 touchdowns in that game against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And really what it comes down to in these important high leverage games, they're going to not be shy to run Jalen Hurts on a QB draw. I'm not even talking about the tush push, but I'm talking about a designed quarterback run, a designed run to the quarterback, a QB, not QB sneak, but God damn it. A QB draw, stuff like that. That's how one of his touchdowns against the Commanders came. He had 2 tush push touchdowns. He had 1 non-tush push touchdown. Last year against the Chiefs, he had 1 tush push touchdown, 1 non-tush push touchdown. 2 years ago against the Chiefs, it was the same thing as last week. It was 2 tush push, 1 non-tush push. You know, Josh Allen scored against 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs in the regular season. He scored against the Chiefs last week. And you can say that the Chiefs had a good plan for the Bills tush push. The Bills tush push is not the Eagles tush push. You know, the Eagles did it in the Super Bowl, and they did it successfully the year after that as well. And if the Eagles get the ball to the 1 yard line, they're not going to be cute. They're just going to run the tush push with Jalen Hurts. If it's first down and 1 from the 1, they're going to run it. If it's 4th down, they're going to run that play. Nick Sirianni is on record saying that he loves calling the tush push at the 1 yard line or whenever they need 1 yard because a negative play can't come out of it, right? Like if you run it with Saquon Barkley, maybe he gets tackled behind the line of scrimmage and that 3rd and 1 turns into 4th and 3, right? That's not going to happen with a tush push. And obviously the Super Bowl is the most important game of the year. When they get to the 1 yard line, they're going to run it with Jalen Hurts. So him to score 2 touchdowns plus 550, I think is really, really good. I also like Jalen Hurts' rush attempts as well. If we can find that, rush attempts. 9.5 at plus 110 is pretty good for his rush attempts. I would definitely, I didn't bet it, but this is another lean. He hit it last week in a blowout against the Commanders. Now, he did miss it in the first 2 games, but this was the weird game where he got hurt against the Rams and really didn't run that much. And this is also the snow game where he wasn't running that much. And then just a kind of gross offensive performance against the Packers, but they only let up 10 points. But the Super Bowl, they're going to run him a ton. He went over this number in the first Super Bowl. He went over this number last year against the Chiefs. He hit this number. He hit his rush attempts. He had 12. And it's the last game of the year. They're not going to be shy using Jalen Hurts' leg. He's cashed it in exactly half the games this year. But the reason why we love Jalen Hurts' rush attempts, the tush push counts, scrambles count, QB draws count. So Jalen Hurts, again, not an official bet, but I do think this one is really good. I might end up betting it. Those are all the official bets that I locked in, plus a couple leans. 2 novelty props that I really like. You can find these directly on FanDuel. One of them, total number of players to have a passing attempt. This basically means, will a non-quarterback throw the ball? This hit in last year's Super Bowl. This hit in the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl. Actually, 4 players attempted a pass in that game. And the Eagles have yet to have a non-quarterback throw a pass attempt, but they almost did it in one game where they were going to have Saquon Barkley throw it, but nobody was open, so he just killed it. But, I mean, you think the Chiefs might have some sort of sneak play, trick play in there. Could be what happened last week against the Eagles, a fake punt, and the punter throws it. But I think plus 152 on 3 pass attempts is pretty good. And listen, one player gets hurt, the backup quarterback gets in, throws 1 pass. This play also cashes. And then another one that I like, and the odds on this one aren't that good, but total sacks by the Chiefs over 2.5, I think is an absolute gift. Jalen Hurts got sacked a ton in these playoffs. The Commanders sacked him a bunch on these blitzes, the Rams, the Packers, and what team is going to cause the most confusion in the NFL with their blitz packages? It's the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts specifically, he's not the type of guy that will avoid sacks and throw the ball away. He'll take sacks. He took a ton this year. He took a ton in the playoffs. And I get that, like, these minus 145 odds are gross. I wish you could back this. I wish you could take over 3.5 for plus money, but you can't. So I do think that's a really good play, though, is the total sacks by the Kansas City Chiefs defense. But that's all we got. 6 official bangers for you guys to lock in, plus a couple leans for you guys to lock in as well. Real quick, just going to recap the 6 official bets that we have. It's Dallas Goedert, 50-plus receiving yards. Travis Kelce, 70-plus receiving yards. Saquon Barkley, 125-plus rushing yards. Kareem Hunt, anytime touchdown. Dallas Goedert, anytime touchdown. Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdowns. And that's all we got. It's been a fun NFL season. I appreciate everybody who's been rocking with me this NFL season. It's been pretty successful so far. Like 14% ROI isn't anything to sneeze at. Let's hope that ROI number goes up after the Super Bowl. But again, I appreciate everybody for watching, and make sure to bet responsibly and have a good one.